All right, everyone. So I wanted to get together with a handful of the ladies that attended the Tulum experience for multiple reasons. But one of those reasons was to showcase and show you kind of the mind, body, and soul reaction of what happens when you are giving yourself permission to be emotionally uncomfortable. So something like we can call it the Tulum experience because behind the scenes, a lot of the ladies didn't know what to expect, and that was on purpose. But they already knew me and they had a relationship with me, or they've experienced my coaching. So part of that was they knew something magic was going to be brewing, but I always like having an element of surprise and experience because I think too often we are addicted to control. And when we're addicted to control, we think we can control the outcome, but we can't. So in reality, when we kind of jump into something because we trust the person or we're trusting the process, I personally feel like we get a better outcome. So we are here today. I want you to kind of, whoever's listening to this, have a parallel in your own life, something that you hope, right? Like, oh, I'm going to do this when, or something you desire, but something you're not giving yourself permission to do. And I really want you to hear these ladies about their emotional reactions once they did say yes to something and the journey of how they feel on the other side. So, Kim, I'm going to start with you. And then Tina, I'm going to ask you the same question. First of all, what was your why of attending, like your overall why of attending specifically an in-person experience in Tulum? And how did you feel when you were thinking about it versus when you said yes to it?
Okay, well, I am sort of new in my journey with you. I'm new to your mastery program. And I saw you advertise something about the retreat, and it just kind of like poked an interest in me, kind of shrugged it off, the typical, I can't afford that, it's not for me. But it kept nagging at me.
I was going to say, I want to stop you. So I'm like analyzing emotions right now. So when you say it poked an interest, like tell me how you know something was poking your interest.
It was just a gut feeling. It was something that just spoke to me and said, I need to be there in the flesh to really crack me open to be able to absorb what I need to absorb for my journey, for my personal development journey.
Awesome.
And also I had seen you advertise retreats in the past, and I've always been intrigued. It's always something that I'm like, maybe someday. And so when I saw your advertisement on Instagram, I think it was like, one slot left or slots are filling up. It was something like that. And I knew it was coming quick. And I was like, wow, do I really want to sign up for this 2 months, with 2 months to prepare? But there was just something in me that decided to poke you anyway. And I said, Heather, let's chat about this. And we got on a call, and next thing you know, I'm signing up to go to Tulum. So it was kind of sporadic. It was very sporadic. My decision to go was very sporadic. It was just following a gut and intuition.
So following the breadcrumbs, as I call it, right? You're following that gut, you're ignited, you decide to say yes. The moment you were like, oh shit, I'm in, after the registration versus when you arrived, what was that emotional process like for you?
Well, as things would have it, as soon as I signed up with you, my family, my husband and I, we were presented with a bit of a financial crisis.
Of course.
Of course we were. And so instinctively, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't go to Tulum. I can't do that. Who am I to be, investing so much in myself when my family needs me? We need this money. And I really came so close to contacting you and saying, pull me out. I can't do it. Pull me out. But I thought about it. I sat and thought about it. I didn't want to make an impulsive decision. And also following the breadcrumbs and following my intuition. I was just getting ready one morning, doing my hair, looking at myself in the mirror. And just something came over me and I realized my worth. And I was like, no, I need this in my life right now. And I'm worthy of it. And I just kept with it. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And I have zero regrets. I mean, we still have this financial crisis over our head, but we're going to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something I want to say about that, but I'm going to let Tina talk first about her journey, kind of the similar as Kim.
I was going through a big change in my life at the time, and I knew I needed to do something about it, but I wasn't sure what, and I didn't know what it would look like. And like Kim, I was also in a little bit of a financial crisis, but I felt really lost before I signed up. And I've known Heather for a long time, and I trust Heather. And she told me about Tulum, and she's like, "You should come." And I think that's all it really took for you to get me to come. I was like, "I'll think about it." And then I knew what the price was because I saw you advertising it before, but it just didn't. I didn't want to go before. I thought it was too much. That was like back in November or something when you first started advertising it. Mm-hmm. But then some changes happened in my life. And then January came along and I was like, okay, I'm ready for it. I want to make the shift. And I knew it was a big investment and I was already in a lot of debt. But I know that once I am happy and aligned, like I will make money again. For me, money is kind of like energy. It comes and goes. I think that might be a privilege of a mindset to have, but like, I'm not worried about it. I can make it again. I trust myself that I will be able to figure it out. And I just needed a little bit of guidance to figure out what I needed to do next.
Awesome. And then after you registered, from that moment to when you were like, okay, this is happening, how did you feel?
I was scared because we obviously didn't know what was going to happen at the event. And I was anxious about having our phones taken away because I knew that was coming. And I work in real estate, which means you're always by your phone. You always have to answer people 10 seconds after they message you. So it gave me a lot of anxiety, like leading up to the event. I was planning people to take messages for me and just like diverting everything, telling everybody I'm not going to have my phone. So don't message me.
I love it. So two things that I want to bring up is this concept, like, so people listening, the concept of someday when, right? Oh, someday when I have more like time, more money, more energy, when the kids are older, when my debt is gone, someday when. And I love how Tina said, that can be a privileged mindset and 100%. But when you are also like there and ready and you have access to the resources and you also have access to the skill to create more, there's a difference between it's not possible right now versus it is possible. I'm just fucking terrified. Right. And so really paying attention to that, like whatever is coming up while people are listening. So the someday when, ask yourself, is this an excuse or is this fear? And I feel like people know, right? Like if I wanted this bad enough, can I figure it out? Like, how can I? Because there are times where people are like, I want to go to the next one. And I'm like, you got to get here first before you can get there. Like you got to learn how to crawl before you can run. And I mean that from the most loving place, because I myself have invested in things before and it doesn't even stretch you to where you need to go. It almost puts you in like shock. There's a difference between shocking somebody because you got to shake them up a little bit versus like, I don't belong here. And I remember when I started my business or when I was like at my lowest. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could do that one day? And it took me years to get there, to be able to actually do it financially, but also spiritually and physically to get there to do that. So like wanting to run a marathon or wanting to climb a mountain, or like, there's times where it's like, I physically can't do that right now. So paying attention, is it fear or is it actual resistance versus I am not there? You should know the difference if you tap into yourself. Feeling lost. I hear this all the time from people. They're like, I don't know what I want, therefore I can't invest. I don't know what I want, therefore I can't act. Having that sense of like lost or stuckness, you need to create momentum in order to actually get unstuck or to feel a little found, right? Like lost, fulfilled. It's like you gotta move. And our brain wants to know the strategy. So when you're like, okay, now I have the strategy. I do it all the time. And I'm sure you ladies do too. And we'll talk about that in a second. But like, I'm like, I just need another strategy. So I get another strategy and I'm like, oh, I'm still here. I'm still the problem, right? So it's really watching that part of you. So yeah, let's dive into the unknown. I'm going to ask Sheena, and then I'm going to ask Angie, because you both of you probably had different reactions to this. But knowing that you're signing up for something, obviously everyone here trusts me. It sounds like all I need to do is be like, hey, do you want to do something? Give me your credit card. And you're like, okay, but I'll say something about that after, but not the unknown. Let's talk about the unknown. Okay, go ahead, Sheena.
Okay, so I actually really enjoyed the unknown. I did know there would be no phones, which I was super excited about until 2 weeks before. And then I go into panic mode. The unknown for me of like all the activities was so fun. It was a piece of the retreat that had that not been it, I don't think it would have felt as magical. It was the most magical week of my life.
I love this. What do you think that is? So I was labeling this as like the fear of the unknown and uncertainty, right? And anyone listening, like we all want to feel safe, which is why sometimes, again, you know me, right? You trust me. And so you've experienced me before. And so you're like, okay, I kind of know what I'm getting myself into. Like there's a relationship there. But oftentimes in our life, we're about to take a big leap into something and there's so much uncertainty and people are grasping for control. So I'm curious what that was for you, Sheena, where you loved, you're like, I'm so glad that I'm not going to have my phone and that I actually don't know what's happening. Like, what was that?
Releasing control, surrendering. I feel like I'm connected to work a whole lot. And this was the space for me to let go, and the space for all the people in my work life to just be like, okay, she's gone. We can't reach her. When I came back, I did not have a whole lot of emails because I informed everyone, like all of our outside people, all of our outside attorneys, I'm not going to be here. And they were so respectful that I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this again. Can I do this?
You just need to like make up like fake ones. You're like, I'm going away again. I'm not going to be available. I think that is also a great point on boundaries, because when you're like, I can't, right? You put yourself in that emotionally uncomfortable container of space. And you're like, the boundary is do not reach out to me because I'm not going to get back to you. I have the exact same like thing when I leave. I'm like, oh my gosh, all these people are going to need me. I'm blah, blah, blah. I remember even the team, we were having this conversation because a lot of the team was there. And I said, I'm going to get very little messages from the team, the mentors, the clients. Like nobody's going to need us. We're gone for like 5 days. And nobody did. It was like a few little things, but there was no 911s because there's typically not 911s when you're not in a crisis state, right?
Right.
So Angie, how did you feel about the unknown and the cell phone? Let's talk about the cell phone for you. Unmute, Angie. Oh, I didn't get my shirt.
The cell phone for me, I felt like I wasn't going to have an issue like during the day. At night I was struggling with, because I really like to check in with my family, but I also have a business where there's, children in my care. I have a child care center, and that did kind of leave me in a panic, just because I was like, I can't check the cameras. I don't know if something major happens, but then I had to trust my systems and process and my staff that are in place there to know to take care of it. And my family actually did amazing without me. So I think that I really struggled, and we worry about things that actually really don't ever come forth. Like, they were all fine. Everything. My center was fine. My family was fine. But yes, I did struggle until probably even when I got it back, I looked forward to talking to them, but for a brief second. And then I didn't want to continue to talk. Right. And then I came home and I was like, I don't even want to be on my phone. Realizing just how much I'm on my phone that's unnecessary.
Yes, I always get that feeling when I'm gone. I'm like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to create boundaries with my phone. And then here I am, boop, 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 all over again. It is crazy how addicted we are to the screens and to our habits. And when you take that away, it really feels like an addiction. You're just I'm going to freak out. But what you're left with is yourself, your emotions. And I'll tell you that, so I told most of you while we were there, so I prepared mentally and physically and emotionally that you were all going to give me wild pushback, taking your screens. People were like, she's not serious. Everyone's like, at what level is she serious? So I asked myself, who do I need to become in order to hold that boundary? Right. And then people were like, oh, I have my laptop. And I was like, nope, I'm taking that too. Oh, my iPad. No, taking that too. Okay. Oh, you have an Apple Watch that has text messaging on it. I'm taking that too. And I forgot to tell people, because we didn't know that there was no clocks in the room or alarm clocks. We asked, but it was Mexico. So there was wires crossed and nobody had the time. So I was prepared to deal with your electronic, anxiety. I was not prepared to deal with your time anxiety. So I'm curious if anyone wants to talk about the control, because part of that was I even had to I talked to somebody there and I was like, we need to get everyone a cheap watch. They don't know what time. And I had to wake you up in the morning, which was no big deal, because I typically do that to people. But they were he's like, Heather, why are you letting them get you with the time thing? And I'm like, oh, they almost got me. And it was really uncomfortable for me to hold the space for you, that you were like, okay, I could mentally prepare for the electronics, but I could not prepare that I have no idea what time it is. So, Kim, I know you were going to say something about time.
Yeah, I think that was easily the biggest trigger for me. So I did not have a problem surrendering my electronics to you. I was looking forward to the break. And of course I had mentally prepared for that. And I knew I was going to have to give that up. But the second I gave that up to you and I went up to the room and I realized, oh my God, there's no clock in here. And then I'm like, wait, there's no phone either. And I'm like, holy shit, what time is it right now? And I'm like, what time do we have to be at dinner? And it was just instant trigger. And then that's when all my shit came up, really was the time.
I haven't decided yet if we're going to have clocks in the room next time. So we'll see. Everyone will be prepared. I'll say, bring a watch or bring your own alarm clock or something. But interesting how it's we prepare for one level and then there's a new devil. Jessica Felton, how did you feel about time?
I would definitely say I feel very much like Kim. I was addicted to time. When you took that away, what I knew was coming up was fear of missing out or I'm going to miss out on something.
FOMO.
Yes,
Your FOMO.
Totally. So that was huge. And I'm always a very future mindset person. And so I was like, what's going to happen next? There was a time on the beach where I was like, well, I don't know if I need to be here or here. Should I get in the water or should I not get in the water? And finally, I was just like, you know what? I am in charge of my own fucking life. So that was really a huge revelation for me. So time, don't do it. Don't let anybody have the time next time either, even though it drove me nuts.
Hey, I'm stopping today's podcast midway to let you know of an amazing opportunity I have coming up. It's called our Virtual Business Retreat. This is something that I created in the middle of COVID when everyone was complaining about not having the time and capacity to work on their next level vision within their business. My clients love it, and so I want to offer it to you. So head on over to heatherchauvin.com/retreat. This is a magical experience that attracts therapists, lawyers, brick and mortar businesses, holistic nutritionists, coaches, consultants, interior designers, artists, and photographers. All women who want to feel alive while growing their businesses and raising their children. This weekend is about connection, leadership, reflecting, and reviewing what's working and what's not working in your business. And we also have a 30-day implementation challenge so you can get the continued support and get quicker results. So again, all you have to do is head on over to heatherchauvin.com/retreat. This happens on April 22nd to the 24th. So hurry up, fill out the form, and we look forward to seeing you there on the inside.
What I wanted to say about this that just came up for me is I actually think women, we're really good at, even though people say they suck at time management, we're really good at managing a lot. And our brains are wired that way. The feedback that we got from the resort was, one, this is the first time we've had a group where everyone was on time for their spa treatments. And nobody knows what time it is. And this was also their first retreat where all the electronics were taken away. So they couldn't fathom how everybody knew what time it was and where they needed to go. So even though, and I heard this from a few people, I don't know if anyone felt this way, you had to depend on each other to figure out what time it was. So Tina and then Sheena, I'm curious your thoughts about community and depending on other women.
Anytime I needed to know what time it was, I was just looking around, see whoever. Some people had FitBits, and those were the key for time in Tulum. But honestly, I didn't struggle with time that much. Katie actually said I was on time all the time and super early, and that's not me at all. So I just like the opposite. I think because there were no expectations of me to do anything else, I would just get ready and then go downstairs and hang out with everyone. So the time wasn't that much of a struggle for me.
And what I just heard you say is when you actually create more space for yourself, you can be on time, right? It's not about jamming everything in. People are so used to that. They're like, oh, I have 20 minutes, so I'll do these 10 things. And then I always think it's hilarious when I'm teaching energetic time management. And I'm like, oh, do you put driving time? Or are you having a Zoom call from 1 to 2? And then at 2:00, you need to be across town at the doctor's office. And they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that. It's because our brains, of course, my phone's going off. Our brains are so conditioned to be go, 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 that we're not actually thinking about time anyways. We're just obsessed with it. Sheena.
Well, I feel like I missed out on a growth opportunity there because I was the one with the Fitbit. So
Sheena's like, everyone came to me.
Yes, which goes back to the relying on community, those of us that did have time.
Yeah.
I felt like I had my flock of sheep and okay, it's time to go get ready for dinner. It's time for your pictures or your spa appointment.
You were still leading. Yeah. So if people brought like a watch, they were allowed to do that. There were some people with a watch. It's interesting how we show up as ourselves, right? So Sheena, I would identify you as somebody who's like, quote unquote, responsible one. And we still show up in these ways where we can simply just be. I found behind the scenes to be interesting. So Tina said J Kitty, and that's Jessica, and she's been on the podcast before, but she's the event planner. And we just have a hoot with the emails we receive, the questions. And I noticed that the more we organized for you, we're like, just show up at the airport, we'll take care of everything else. The more controlling some people got. Not anyone specifically on this call, wink, wink, but it was just the lack of control on their behalf. So the things that we want and desire. So I want you all to think about this. The things that we want and desire. So I always say, wouldn't it be nice if? Wouldn't it be nice if? Oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could just have a bath and someone else could take care of the kids? Wouldn't it be nice if I could make this and didn't have to worry about that? Wouldn't it be nice if I could have a luxurious experience where I just like show up at the airport? I don't have to think about anything and I can just leave. And then you actually get it and you can't enjoy it because you have this unconscious need for control. It's one thing to know your behaviors and to catch it. It's another thing when you're not consciously aware of it and you're projecting your shit onto other people. So nobody did that here because you are all aware of your own shit, because that's what I teach inside of my programs, which is like, ooh, interesting. What's coming up for you? Let's dig a little bit deeper. But typically we're out there in the world and we're like, that person made me angry. That person triggered me. So I'm curious what came up for any of you in regards to experiencing this and then going home and watching your emotional reactions with the people you care about, how that has maybe shifted a little bit. So let's talk to Angie and then Jessica Felton again.
So I came home and I definitely felt more gratitude for my family. And I felt even extra compassionate and cautious with my words and with what I say and how I respond. I felt a very deep gratitude because they were supportive of me going, and the fact everything was good and they were super excited about everything. And I came home with very, very sense of calm, but yet on like retreat high, like never felt better in my life. And yeah, I think that's about how I can describe it.
Awesome. Jessica Felton, what about you?
I definitely would say when I went there, when we did the meditation on the beach, was so eye-opening for me. I do meditations, but they're always very much guided. And I realized most of the days that, like I had said before, that I am the creator of my life. And I have so much energy and vibration that was coming through me during the retreat. And I was able to bring that back to my home life. And I can do that every morning now and just feel that vibration rising so high so that I can come in and wake my children up, starting the day with that high vibration. And I forget that I actually am truly that way, but the everyday to-dos lower my vibration because I put myself in that vibration. I lower the vibration myself, but it allowed me to understand that I am only one in control of raising that vibration. So that was huge for me.
I love this. Okay, so this brings me to the question of how good can it get? And I believe, and I'm not the first person to say this, but like that internal like thermometer, right? Thermometer of capacity, of goodness, good feelings. And I talk about being in survival mode and then going to a state of momentum and then a state of thrival and then the state of creative abundance. And you get to choose which areas of your life need your attention based on the feelings of where you're at. And, a lot of times I think people think one and done, check the box, right? So I go on this event, this beyond Tulum, I'm thinking about vacation. So I go on this vacation because I need a vacation from my life. And then you go on this vacation, you feel better, you re-enter your life, nothing has changed. Those feelings wear off and you're like, what happened? Well, it's temporary. Like life is a practice. And so, again, energetic time management is how do you take the essence of that? Yes, bring some of it back, but also give yourself permission to want more. So you're like, you know what? Every quarter, if I can't get away, I'm going to do a little staycation, or I deserve space, or I deserve heck, I don't, but a lot of people are like, I live by the ocean. I never even go there. Right. So it's like literally putting these things on your calendar, but also giving yourself permission that if I can get to that feeling, I know I'm capable of it. And I want that feeling to be my goal, not just a one and done, because we're so used to feeling like shit. And that's what pisses me off, where it's like, I feel great. And I remember this specific retreat, a lot of people kept asking me how do you feel? Are you okay? Are you exhausted? And I was like, this is the first time I have hosted a retreat or an experience where I didn't get sick or I didn't feel burnt out at the end. I had so much support, as you could all see, that, I'm there and I'm watching everybody and I'm, making sure they're okay and I'm managing their energy, but I was a participant and I was in it with everyone else. And I was like, do you know how much shit I had to heal to every time contrast comes up, every single fucking time where you're like, bring it, universe. What is this shit? I used to get a cold on the last day and I was like, bring it, declutter my lungs, just get this shit out of me. And every time I got lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So how you felt there and all this shit that came up to get there, that is the decluttering. And we have to give ourselves permission to want more and to constantly push that boundary for how fucking good can we feel? How much money can I make? How much time can I create for myself? How much energy can I create? So I'm getting on a rant, but I'm curious. I want to hear from all of you and then we're going to wrap it up. So Tina, Sheena, Angie, Kim, then Jessica will wrap it up when it comes to how good can you feel?
One thing that came up for me is something that we talked about at the retreat is the death of your old self. So when we're creating our new selves, we can't keep having the same habits and thoughts and beliefs that our past selves had. So in order to really believe and achieve that goodness that everyone wants to feel, you have to grieve the past and leave it in the past in order to even just make room for the new. And so for me, that's what Tulum was. I had already started grieving my old life. So I think when I got to Tulum, I was really just ready for it and everything kind of just fell into place for me. And ever since coming back from it, I really enjoyed the idea of the slow mornings. So I get up 3 hours before I need to be anywhere. I have my cup of coffee, breakfast, meditate, journal, and it really sets the mood for the whole day. How good you want to feel the whole day. And just that start has just made every day so incredible since.
I love that. Sheena?
So for me, it was similar, the grieving the old self. And when you said that one night, I'm like, what is she what is she talking about? I need to know exactly how to do this. I'm like, I'm already planning to box with you. When we get back, how do I do this? And then we did it. And I was like, I get it now. And releasing that helped me start to break down some walls and being more open about my feelings with my husband or anyone else, and stop hiding who I truly am and being the person that other people want me to be, and just being who I am. And that feels so good to just be able to be me and stop all this analyzing of who should I be for this person? Who do I need to be for that person? And stop stuffing things down. I told my husband, like, just watch out. You're going to regret wanting me to express my feelings at the time, because it's going to be overload for you.
Yeah, it'll be like a faucet, and you're like, okay, we'll get it down to like a momentum, like a
Yes.
a smooth flow, but it's going to be like coming out.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah, it's imperfect. It's messy. We're learning new skills. And when we're creating a new identity for ourselves, it's really about like trying on new clothes or trying on new shoes. You're like, oh, I got to break these in a little bit. Angie, how good can I get? How good can you feel?
I really feel like with Tulum, what I took away was being able to experience when Jeff was talking about your mind and how we instantly go to fear and how we can actually block that and then do the activity. And when we did the ice box after that, for me, it was like one of my biggest takeaways, because I know that my mind is what stops me from my how good can it feel. And I feel more and more ready to start taking this action and being able to just correlate it with the ice box and take that action and go for it.
I love it. You have such a Michigan accent, like icebox. So the ice bath that we did, people are like, what's an ice box? Doesn't matter. But what you just like brought up for me is I remember being in that circle when we had Jeff, who was the facilitator of the ice bath, tell us that we were going to hold our breath for like a minute or something. He was prepping us to get into the ice. And I think we got up to like 3 minutes or something, like holding our breath. Am I correct?
Yes.
And when he said a minute first, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that. Like, that was my first response. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that, because I've been having some weird things with my breathing. I'm like, there's no way. And then when we all most of us got to 3 minutes, I was blown away. And when, what we think we're capable of and what we're actually capable of, when again, we're putting ourselves in those emotionally uncomfortable positions, but also when we're just giving ourselves permission to say, how good can it get? Like, let me be curious. Can I actually do this? I did 3 minutes. Can I do 5 minutes? And then getting into the ice bath, where no one knew that was coming either. So I figured, you guys probably figured that out when he was like, oh, by the way, we're going to hold our breath and then we're going to put you in ice. Kim, and then Jessica, how good can I get?
Well, how good can it get? I think that's like the biggest thing for me. I have struggled for as long as I can remember. I've struggled with self-love. It's something that I lacked significantly for myself. I have the self-care in place, but the actual unconditional love for myself and self-respect is where I've been lacking. And that's really what's brought me to you. And I did not know what to expect from the retreat. I didn't really know. I didn't go into it with any expectations. But our last morning there, when we were sitting on the beach at sunrise, meditating, it's like Jessica said earlier, I just had this energy within me. And I just had this revelation. It just came out of nowhere. And I was like, holy shit, I think I can actually love myself. And I realized in that moment that what the weekend meant for me, our experience in Tulum, was that I shed a layer that I didn't know I needed to shed. And the big part of that, we mentioned community earlier. And I think the big part of that is literally the community. I mean, I went there not knowing any of the women there. Yeah. I mean, Heather, I've worked with you, but I've never met you in the flesh. So there was some fear going there from that perspective. But I got there and I was completely accepted for who I am. There was space held for me to be me and me. Like, I showed up as Kim, not worried about anyone else thought. And I just developed such a confidence in myself that that's what I took back with me. And I have felt that confidence since. And I really feel like I could just keep shedding more and more layers and discover more love for myself, which is just so magical and so surreal, that it just, there's an experience of a lifetime.
I love that. Jessica Felton.
Kim, I'm totally going to piggyback on you because I was just going to say that self-love and the community were number one for me. Just knowing in that meditation, I was like, oh, duh, I'm my best friend. Why do I keep avoiding that? And then just bringing back that community amongst the women that are here in my life, because you guys are all amazing, but I don't get to see you day to day. And how can I recreate what happened in Tulum here and where I live? And I know that starts with me, and that starts with me being my best friend and just using that high vibrational energy to continuously go forward in my daily, everything that I do in my day. So that's what I brought back.
I love that. One thing I often hear from people, and I think this has just come with my own experience, is the pain that we're experiencing in our life, like what brings you to me, right? It can be a relationship with your child, a relationship with your partner, struggling with your health, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, hating your job, feeling a disconnect. And what people often typically think they need and what they actually need are two different things. And I'm here to give you what you think you need, a strategy, some tools, some tips, but I'm going to give you what you actually need. And I think that is where the trust comes, and to be open and to surrender and say, like, show me the way. Because myself, someone who's chronically investing, at the beginning, it was really hard to do that because, and I don't just mean financially, I mean time and energy. How many times have I said, like, I got to put my shoes on and go for that walk or go for the run or get to the gym. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time. I don't want to. And I'm like, no, I actually just don't value my time. Like, I don't value myself enough. And you have to invest the time and the energy. And when you put money behind it, there's an equal exchange of energy, and you scare the shit out of yourself a little bit, and you're more accountable to showing up or doing it. But the amount of times where I'm like, I don't actually think I'm worthy of this. And then I'm like, which is exactly why you need to do it. Because if you want to change that belief and you want to change your life, you have to do things differently. So what would you say to that woman that's on the fence? And what I mean by that is, she may have filled out the application, the interest list. She's curious. She's feeling that pull. It could be with mastery. It could be with the retreat. It could be anything in her life. Maybe not even with me, something else. What do you say to her when she keeps clicking on something? She's like, someday when, someday when, someday when. So in one sentence, what do you say to her? Tina.
Stop waiting. Just believe in yourself. You'll figure it out. You can do it. That was a couple of sentences.
Angie, what would you say? Angie's muted.
Oh, lean in and go for it. You will not regret it.
And Sheena.
Follow your intuition. Stop thinking and just click the buttons, register, do whatever you need to do. Just stop thinking.
Send messages, ask for help, ask yourself, how can I figure this shit out? And if you want to know how to manifest quickly, move quickly. Like, hire the people that you need, take the action, vomit shit your pants. Life gets so much better on the other side. I'm really excited to see what you guys create. I know it's only been a few weeks, but I'm so excited to see what actually manifests and comes out of this, because there's so many seeds that are planted. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
There it is. You just listened to the Emotionally Uncomfortable podcast. If you want to take this conversation to the next level, head on over to our private Facebook group community, heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. My last name is spelled CHAUVIN. That's heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. Also, if you are a huge fan of this show, please rate and review it on iTunes. Every review helps another woman like you take back control of how she wants to feel and become emotionally uncomfortable. I truly believe the better we feel, the more alive we become. This is how we are going to change the world. And if you've been watching me for a while, if you've been on the fence and you're curious, how can Heather help me? Head on over to heatherchauvin.com/work with me to check out my mastery and mastery business coaching programs. That's heatherchauvin.com/work with me.